without a shadow of doubt, the biggest... Ouch. Oh, that's messy. The biggest perk of this Spitfire Odyssey that I'm on, by far, is the people that I meet. Whether it be in Los Angeles, in Reykjavik, Tokyo, Frankfurt, Berlin. It's amazing to meet and to make friends with this global sister and brotherhood of people who have a passion for music. And I guess in the case of today's video, a passion for the business of music. This YouTube channel is bringing me opportunities to meet people from a broader spectrum of the business, not least, I would say, possibly the biggest music educator on the planet today. He's helped me and coached me over the last few months in the kind of subtle craft and nuance of YouTube. The reason why the numbers disappeared from the titles was because of this guy. The reason my thumbnails are improving is because of this guy. So it was a great pleasure and honour that he agreed to come over to London to hang out with us at Air Studios, and we did a couple of interviews. He interviewed me and I interviewed him. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's great honour that I present to you Rick Beato.
Thanks, Christian.
Your journey's been incredible because you come from a conservatoire education.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk us through that journey.
So I have an undergraduate degree in classical bass, and then I did my master's in jazz guitar at New England Conservatory in Boston, and then I was a college professor for 5 or 6 years after that. Really, my entire 20s, from the time I graduated from college till I was 30 years old, I was a college professor. And I taught jazz studies, I conducted big band, I taught arranging, I taught ear training theory, all the different things. Many of the things that I teach on my channel. And then a friend of mine on a whim asked me to play in a demo of his. And I said, I don't really play rock anymore. And he's like, oh, just come play on this demo. So I go play on a demo, and a couple weeks later he says, the senior VP of Elektra Records heard our recording and thinks it's that we have hits. And I said, we have hits? You wrote the songs. We didn't. Like, what? And wanted to sign us to a development deal. And that kind of started me off into doing rock music.
Right.
Okay, and getting away from the teaching thing, and teaching jazz studies, teaching composition. Eventually signed a publishing deal in 91 and ended up taking a leave of absence from teaching in 1992. Started a band that got signed that really never went anywhere. And mainly, well, one of the things was that there were all the labels were starting to consolidate. Polygram was bought by Universal. It started happening around 99. That was actually the beginning of the collapse of the music business.
Well, it's because of the hierarchy went from that to that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it really started in the mid-90s with the Telecommunications Act that President Clinton signed, that you went from all these different, many, 80 some odd media companies down to 6.
Right.
And then all the playlists started getting, programmed by a very few amount of people in the United States.
Yeah.
I then went into music production around 99, and I started having a lot of success in that, far more than I had as a performer. And at that time, I was in my 30s. My YouTube channel has really been an extension of that. I was lucky enough to have some successful records, some platinum records, some gold records as a producer. But when I started it, it happened because of an intern. One of my interns came in one day, and he loves watching YouTube. He's in mid-20s. He said, you should start a YouTube channel. There's no white-haired guys on YouTube. What are you talking about? Who's going to watch my YouTube channels? No, do all your theory stuff. Talk about production, talk about all these kind of things. So he taught me how to use a camera, and the editing is very much like editing in Pro Tools. So that was actually the easy part for me, was the learning how to edit video. And I just started uploading, and it took a long time to get anywhere. I mean, it took... YouTube's very hard to break into.
Yeah.
I did 340 videos in the first year, in the first 12 months. And
so 5 or 6 a week.
I doing 5 or 6 a week, yeah. And then I broke into doing live streams, things like that, and I kept diversifying my content. And it wasn't until I hit 200,000 subscribers, until I did any thing with rock music or pop music. It was all modern classical music, music theory, jazz improvisation, ear training. And then I started this series called What Makes This Song Great, where I play multi-tracks and talk about the recording processes, talking about everything from how they mic things, what the parts that they were playing. And then my channel really grew up till, mid 700,000s in subscribers now. So,
I mean, I noticed on one of my videos that I just hit the algorithm and got a spike. Were there any kind of bumps, that...
I've had almost no... I had this one Apple rant that got a couple million views.
Love, by the way. That's one way to monetize keeping the boxes. I knew these would come in handy one day.
I just got fed up. I had a hard drive I had a computer, my laptop that I edited all my video on that died. And I was just fed up with Apple stuff. I hated the way iTunes worked.
Yeah.
It became unusable. And I still had in my main studio, I had a 2009 G5 tower or Intel tower, and I was running Pro Tools 10. And that had the old operating system with the old iTunes that was very usable. And I just lost it one day and made that video. But, other than that, I had hardly had any. I've had almost, for the channel my size, I've had almost no viral videos. I don't make viral videos. My videos are informational videos, I think. And
that genuinely surprised me about, and is what is so refreshing about your channel, is that I'll often go, I could just see that you're not chasing views, because that one about modes not going to get as many as your Apple rant.
No, but I did a video on every mode of the major scale, melodic minor scale, harmonic major scale, double harmonic major scale, all the auxiliary scales, augmented, diminished scales, everything. I did one video on each of those, and I wrote a piece for every single one of those. Okay, that only used those 7 notes or 8 notes if it was the diminished octatonic scale. So
subscribe, because it's deep stuff. I'm learning so much from.
Well, it's I know those videos only get 15,000, or maybe these days they get 30,000 views. Yeah. That's it. And when I do What Makes This Song Great, those things do well because I use popular songs that everyone knows.
Right.
And people like to see how things are put together. I think it's really fascinating because it's fascinating for me. I like to see how things are put together, and I've been a producer for 25 years, and I still like to see how big hit songs, what the components are with them. It's so interesting.
So you're still learning by doing...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Every day's a school day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to the business in a sec, but you've got to have some serious motivation to be doing 5 or 6 videos a week. Is it the action of being a successful YouTuber, or is it just a drive to educate? I've learned apparently there's this thing that happens, that there's a certain point I've never been interested in teaching anyone anything, but apparently there's a point, and it's a natural Darwinian thing, where you feel you just got to offload all of your knowledge. Is it a combination of things that motivates you?
So I went from 1992 to 2016 where I didn't teach anyone anything.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a natural teacher. That's where I feel the most comfortable. I always could play well, but I think teaching came more naturally. I love taking lessons and learning. And I love teaching people. Anytime a band asks me a question, is that there are no secrets. And on my YouTube channel, I say there are no secrets. I give away anything. I tell people anything that they want to know. I'll talk about anything, from how much you make if you have a #1 song to how much you make as a producer. How points work, percentage points on records, or how they used to work. They don't really work much anymore because nobody buys anything. But all these things that I always wondered about, I think most people wonder about, are things I talk about, which you talk about as well on your channel.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of been the driving force behind it. As far as having the motivation to do it, I wake up every day, I'm like, let's do it.
That's good for you, man.
I've got, I have...
Or you get really angry like you did last night.
Or I get really angry. Well, it's kind of comes from the same place, but...
Yeah.
I'm a pretty high energy person for being almost 57, so...
I can vouch for that.
And I always say, I can outwork any of these young kids.
I relate to that, certainly. I may think I'm crap, but I can outwork them. Business. So your business is, you're a musician, and you are hugely successful as a producer, and your business has changed? And is it from, well, I know, I'm not going to play dumb because I have a YouTube channel. I know that you can't, even with your stats, you're not going to make enough to feed a family off YouTube ad revenue. So you've diversified, I take it?
Yeah, so I have a store where I have a book that I wrote 30 years ago. I have courses on there. I have merch.
Yeah.
I sell coffee mugs that have mode formulas and triad formulas and things like that, and I sell a lot of those that people that I don't sell millions of them, but I sell that's how my channel is supported, is through that. There is ad revenue. To say there's no ad revenue, but every day my videos these days are getting demonetized. I was mentioned to you last night that I had one of my biggest videos. I only have 4 videos that have over 1 million views, and one of those videos was demonetized last night.
So this is the sticky subject, really, which I was going to get onto. Do you feel that the music industry misunderstands YouTube as a platform?
Yes. They misunderstand at least the educational part of it.
Yep.
Because they know it can generate money for them through video plays that they get paid for, through people actually listening to the songs on YouTube. They know that that's a pretty easy thing to deal with. But what they don't know and they don't seem to care about is how people use music that they claim is theirs. That's the thing that gets really tricky. And so the video that I had demonetized last night hit 1 million views a few weeks ago, and it's called Audiophile or Audio Fooled. And I talk about people that took this test that was on NPR, which is National Public Radio in the U.S. They played 6 songs of all different genres, and they played a 128K version, a 320, and a WAV file.
Yeah.
And they see if people could tell the difference. Now, 150 million people or so have taken the test, and it's 50-50, which means that people are guessing. Right. If it's 50-50... So anyone that ever said in the comments, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I can tell it anytime," and it's randomized. It does it differently every time. So I said, "Great, send me your screenshot of your 6 out of 6." Yeah. Now there's been hundreds of people that said that. Guess how many I've gotten? 0. Not one person has ever gotten 6 out of 6 on it. So that tells me that they can't tell the difference. Well, in that video, my old assistant, Michelle, is wearing headphones, and there's a little bit of headphone bleed, and there's a Katy Perry song that's playing that you can barely hear, that the algorithm never picked up. I never noticed it till I went and rewatched the video, which I made a year ago last night. And it is so faint. They said in the copyright strike that it was manually done. So somebody went to my video. Oh, here's a video with 1 million views. It's on music. Let's see if there's anything of ours in it.
Right.
They found it and they demonetized it. The problem now is that you can't do anything about it. At least seemingly you can't. Although I think that you can do things about it. But Christian, you said something to me yesterday about you won't even use music, and this is becoming a common thing in YouTube. Oh, I won't even use music in my video, and that's terrible.
Well, I think that what I'm really nervous about is that I'm certainly aware that where YouTube is concerned, we're talking about, I believe, 6 million creators, 6 million channels as ostensibly. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a few hundred really amazing channels and a lot of other stuff. But from what I'm observing is music for picture, music that's being commissioned and written to picture, is not happening on this platform. That makes me very nervous because that's my profession. It's writing music to picture. That's one thing. But what I'm also getting very aware of is people fear copyright strikes and demonetization more than anything else. So what I'm hearing on the grapevine is people just don't want to use music. And what I fear about this is we are creating a fertile ground for AI. Yep. And I don't fear AI because it's going to put us out of work. I fear AI because I don't want my children listening to AI. You know?
I agree.
Because it's bollocks.
Just the idea that people are avoiding the use of music in their videos is ridiculous. Yeah. Think about that.
You know, if PewDiePie were to put my score under one of his videos and 16 million people were to see it and he credited me, I would see that as a great service to me.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't expect to have part of his ad revenue. I would just see that as he's celebrated my music, he's promoted it, thank you very much. Now it's down to me to work out what I can do with my online presence so I can monetize that. Yeah. It's likely he's only used 30 seconds. The reason they're coming to me is they want to hear the 3 minutes. This fear of new technology is going to make the music industry shoot itself in the face again.
Well, YouTube is not making a stand. Their default is to say they wash their hands of it unless the creator sorts it out. what I've done is I've edited out the parts that I've gotten the copyright strikes for. When they block the videos, that's when I do it. If it gets demonetized, okay, so what? It gets demonetized. So you just have to deal with that. I mean, I don't like that, but I don't have the resources nor the time to fight that.
Yeah.
And that's for younger people to do, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier, that eventually those people that you cut out, that a lot of it's been happening in my videos where I'm talking about hit music history. Yeah. Especially history of rock music. That's just emblematic of them being cut out of music history eventually. Yeah. Them claiming these parts where I'm praising them and talking about their historical significance, and then me editing it out of the video so the video just goes on to the next thing and ignores them.
Well, it's profound for me because my grandfather was very famous, incredibly famous, in fact, at the turn of the 20th century. But he was a bit of a Luddite when it came to film. So he didn't make any films. He didn't want to give his jokes away to the masses. He wanted people to pay to come and see his shows. And as a consequence, no one's ever heard of him. He didn't leave a legacy in that respect. And I think it's very telling what you're speaking of, this airbrushing out.
Yeah.
I touched on this idea of being able to monetize, what your music does for you. I think there's an obsession with this idea, and I think it's kind of a lazy notion. All I have to do is write great music, and then the money should come, like an ambient income, should just come flooding in. Do you have any thoughts or advice for younger people about how you have to consider entrepreneurialism as part of our work?
You just have to look to hip-hop music, because that's where all the people that nowadays have had all the great business ideas that were musicians, but had to look outside of music in order to actually make real, the big money that they've made, whether it's Dr. Dre or whoever. It's you constantly need to be recreating yourself or thinking of new ideas to go to the marketplace with. Basically, is I think that's the great lesson there. How to be an entrepreneur is key. The things that our children will go to college for, some of these, go to school and learn coding. Well, coding is all going to be done by AI anyways in the future. I mean, so these things that you think are going to be careers in the future, you never even know. So what your kids are planning on now, there may be no jobs for those, but there will always be work for people that are good business people. That actually have great ideas and start companies.
Thanks so much, Rick. Just as a parting thought, I would really urge people to have a go at YouTube, to try, if nothing else, just to understand it more. Are there any key pieces of advice to anyone setting up a channel that you could? You've given me so much advice over the last 2 days. My thumbnails are going to change soon.
One of my friends said when I started my channel, just keep uploading.
Yeah. Outwork everyone else. Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Rick, thank you so much.
Welcome, Christian. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Rick, for coming all the way over to Blighty, for your generosity and for sharing your experiences with this channel. If any of you haven't checked out Rick, and I'm sure most of you have, are already massive converts, his channel is linked below. I would recommend subscribing. So, forthcoming videos, we've touched on, both Rick and myself, our concerns about the attitudes towards YouTube with regards royalties, copyrights, that kind of stuff. And it's something I do want to investigate because I do, repeating myself, I know, but I do have this concern that yet again, possibly the music industry's suspicion to a new technology is going to leave it out in the cold. I would really love to hear your thoughts ahead of a meeting that I'm going to have with not only a fantastically successful composer, but someone who also works at PRS and is at the kind of real cutting edge of Article 13 and these issues of rights and copyright and royalties, all of that kind of stuff. So please, if you have any questions for me to pose to him, if you have any thoughts to share, put them in the comments down below. All in all, to be continued. So worth subscribing if you haven't done already. Ding that bell if you want to be notified the next time I put a film up. And one of those, always appreciated, if you've liked this film. See you next time.